State charges a lot, and they paid a lot of money in state. It'll all be revealed. It's going to come out.
Just ahead on this edition of News On, the New York Times published the president's alleged tax returns. Find out what's in that report. Plus, the president and his opponent gear up for their much anticipated first presidential debate, a preview of what we can expect. And finally, the president nominates Judge Amy Coney Barrett to serve on the Supreme Court following the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. The challenges she's likely to face. Hello and welcome to News On. Happy Monday to you. I'm Miranda. Thank you so much for joining us. We begin this afternoon with more developments and the ongoing saga between the Biden campaign and the Ukraine. Now, according to our Just the News correspondents, which we are partnering up with, Hunter Biden and representatives of Burisma Holdings secured at least 6 high-level meetings with senior officials with the Obama administration. They report it happened in the weeks just before Vice President Joe Biden forced the firing of the Ukrainian prosecutor investigating the gas company. Now, the report is based on newly disclosed memos and testimony. During some of those meetings, a Democratic firm called Blue Star Strategies that represented Burisma repeatedly pressured U.S. officials to help end corruption allegations that had long dogged the Ukrainian gas firm. Now, that's the firm which appointed Hunter Biden to its board back in 2014. Be sure and keep it right here on Real America's Voice for the latest developments on this ongoing story. The president hasn't paid taxes in 10 years. Well, that's the claim, according to a New York Times report. The publication claims it knows that because it has copies, it says, of President Trump's tax returns. According to the Times, the president didn't pay taxes because he claimed his businesses were floundering. The Times says President Trump paid $750 in federal income taxes the year he won the presidency and $750 his first year in the White House. The Times reports Trump's properties are struggling and he has hundreds of millions of dollars in debt that he owes. It also claims the president has an IRS audit battle that could cost him $100 million. The president calls the article fake news, and his attorney tells the paper he's paid tens of millions of dollars in, quote, personal taxes. Fake or not, the story is continuing to make headlines today on this Monday, and joining us live now is a man who not only knows the president very well, but is an expert on taxes, and that is the founder and CEO of Engineered Tax Services, Julio Gonzalez. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Yeah, well, we knew this was looming. This was going to come out eventually. They've been after his tax returns before he even took office. We have not independently verified this. We have not seen them. This is only according to the New York Times. But assuming this is true, how damaging is this for the president?
Well, he paid $750 more than Amazon and most of the Fortune 500 companies, right? So I don't think it's too damaging. I think that it doesn't even show the whole picture, which is his corporate tax returns, and then the state returns. I mean, obviously, all the taxes that he generates that go to the federal, state, and local governments comes from his businesses, not from his personal entity, right? So right. I think that if you looked at the overall tax payments from his entities, I think you'd see that he pays more than most. And I think that's really what's going on here. I think you're just getting a version of fake news.
Yeah, a version of fake news, if you will. Now, I mean, this is your line of work. You help businesses every day save money on taxes. So one could even argue that he would be a clever businessman if he wasn't paying that much in taxes.
Well, I don't know that it's clever. I mean, I think like you said, the IRS is in audits with him, right? Probably for the last 30 years. They probably sit next to his controller's office, the CFO's office. So if there were any wrongdoings over the last 3 decades, certainly the IRS would know about it. But I think it really comes down to the fact that most of the taxes are paid from the hotels that he owns, the buildings that he owns, right? And it doesn't really flow through to his personal tax return.
What does it mean, what does the president mean when he says personal taxes? Just to clarify that, if you will.
Well, I think what it means is that overall, through all his entities, they're paying a lot of property taxes, they're paying a lot of Social Security taxes, employment taxes, sales and use tax. So they're paying plenty of property taxes. They're paying plenty of taxes. And remember this, he brought these properties back to life that were dead, right?
So for you, this is just a big nothing burger, if I'm...
A zero burger, yeah.
A zero burger. Got it. All right. Julio Gonzalez, as always, pleasure to have you, my friend.
Thank you.
Still, in other news, let's go ahead and get to it. President Trump's former campaign manager is receiving treatment today under Florida's Baker Act following a reported suicide attempt. Fort Lauderdale police confirm Brad Parscale is getting help under a law that allows the detention of a person having a mental health crisis. It's specifically called Baker Act here in Florida, but it's called different things, involuntary confinement, depending on where you live. They say his wife called 911 yesterday indicating her husband was armed and threatening to harm himself while he was barricaded inside their home. He eventually surrendered himself to police. President Trump, as you may recall, demoted Parscale after the Tulsa, Oklahoma rally. A campaign spokesperson tells CNN the organization loves him like family and will support him through this time. Just thought we should mention this too, that September is Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month, and as someone who has lost a sister to suicide, I highly encourage that if you or someone you know is struggling, to reach out to what is called the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. It is available to you 24 hours. The number to call is right there on your screen, or if we can get it up. It's 1-800-8255. Again, that number is 1-800-8255. And I'm pleased to announce that soon we will be launching a brand new program on this very network that is dedicated completely to your mental health. It's called Real Convo. My co-host Alan and I encourage you to stay tuned for more details. There is still so much more to come here on News On. President Trump and former Vice President Biden are getting ready for their first presidential debate. The event, which is scheduled to take place tomorrow at Case Western University in Cleveland, Ohio, was originally supposed to happen at Notre Dame, but it was moved due to COVID concerns. And speaking of COVID concerns, the first debate will have a little different feel than past debates. Traditionally, debates are held in front of hundreds of audience members. We're going to get to all the details of what you can expect during tomorrow's first presidential debate with Dr. Wendy Patrick and Robin Byro. Stay tuned. Also, stay tuned for Real America's Voice. We're going to get you to answer a question that we have today that is specifically in reference to the protest. We'll get to that coming up. We'll be right back. welcome back to News On. He's made his pick, and he's made it pretty clear. President Trump wants to see Amy Coney Barrett confirmed to the Supreme Court before the election. Now, that's the trick, before the election, but that's less than, 40 days away? So what would a fast-track confirmation look like, and how would Democrats react? Well, for more on this, I'd like to welcome in our panel. Joining us now is Dr. Wendy Patrick. She's a legal and political analyst. Also with us, former Obama campaign advisor, Robin Biro. Thank you both for joining us. Good to see you again.
You too, Miranda. Thank you.
So I feel like we were expecting maybe a surprise, but you called it, Dr. Patrick. I mean, you said last week, I'm pretty sure, and you were kind of hoping that it would be Judge Amy Coney Barrett. So no big shocker there. Now the question is, what are Democrats going to do to try and not get her confirmed? Do they have really any tactics out there? Because we're talking October 12th is when they're talking about setting up the hearing.
Well, do they have any tactics is a different question than do they have any legal standing to try to block the nomination? The answer to the last question is no. And tactics, I suppose they could have extended questioning. They can try to find parts of a paper trail of what she said and done and written and ruled upon to cast doubt about the integrity of this nomination. But remember, the president thought about all this beforehand, and that is why so many of us predicted this. Judge Barrett is not just conservative, she's confirmable, because she is not too right-wing. She is not as controversial as other people that were on his list. Remember also, Miranda and Randy, she is polished and practiced. In other words, she just went through her own confirmation hearing in 2017 for the seat she now holds, so she knows what to expect in the hot seat. I think she's going to do very well.
If you could ask her one question, what would it be?
I would probably ask her the same question that really would take the wind out of the Democrat sails as to, can you assure this body and the American people that you will not allow your personal beliefs to color your judicial decision-making? Because that is the number one issue people have with her. So draw the sting, as we say in the law. That would probably be the question that you'll probably see a Republican ask, would be my prediction.
Yeah, well, they're expecting, Republicans would like to see this happen in a couple of weeks, but as we saw with Kavanaugh, that took 3 months before they were able to confirm him. So I don't know. We'll have to see how this plays out. Robin, any concerns? I mean, as a Democrat, any concerns that you have about Judge Amy Coney Barrett?
I'll be honest with you, Miranda. My concerns lay with my own party right now because I see them attacking her religion. She belonged to a subsect of the Catholic faith, People of Praise, and I understand that they had some beliefs that might not sit well with some Americans. But look, it's her religion. I don't want to get into her faith. It's a huge mistake for us to do so. We'll be labeled a party that's against God. That's my concern. I just want her to get a fair shake, and fair is fair. We do deserve to ask all the questions as per usual, but by gosh, let's give the lady a fair shake so that we look fair and are fair.
Yeah, there was a report out today that they were possibly questioning whether or not she adopted her children legally. I'm not sure how that's going to sit well. I see you both shaking your head. But Robin, if you were to ask her a question in order for her not to get confirmed, what question would that be? Because that's what Democrats are going to try to do.
I would look back through some of the papers that she's written, Miranda, and I would ask her some pointed questions about her personal beliefs regarding reproductive rights, and if she can, in fact, let those just be her personal beliefs and follow the rule set by legal precedent regarding Roe v. Wade. That is probably the number one that needs to be clarified, as Dr. Patrick herself just basically indicated.
Yeah, I see you wanting to comment. Go ahead, Dr. Patrick. What are your thoughts about what Robin just said?
Too much, if not all, ironically, of what Robin said, I say amen. I agree completely with the religious litmus test backlash that, of course, those are going to get. Remember, that's what made Judge Barrett famous in the Seventh Circuit confirmation hearing, was the fact that she handled herself so well when Senator Feinstein was asking her about her faith. I would also note that I, too, have been following some of the Twitter posts about why she adopted the children from Haiti, and it is backfiring on the Democrats. If there is anything, and I'll play devil's advocate because, of course, I've been both a prosecutor and a defense attorney. If there was anything the Democrats could credibly argue, it wouldn't be that she's going to run out and try to overturn Roe. It would be that her feelings about the issue in general might sort of clip around the edges of women's rights, of women's right to choose, those types of things, women's health care. Because remember, one of the reasons that Republicans and the president want her confirmed right away is those important issues are on calendar and in the queue to be heard right after the election. So they cannot afford to waste any time in having her confirmed. Not to mention the fact that the election itself may, in fact, if it's as close as people think, may in fact be in front of the Supreme Court, much in the same way it was in 2000 with Bush versus Gore, which was, by the way, a 5-4 decision, halting the recount, handing the victory to Bush.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what, if any, impact this pick will have on the first presidential debate. Dr. Patrick, do you think it will have any impact whatsoever on voters when it comes to the polls?
Well, I think that it should, and I know that the topics have already been released, and it probably will have an impact in that many people think that the president has basically stood by what he said he was going to do, nominate conservative justices. And there are lots of single-issue voters out there that are pleased, that are thrilled to death that he's doing his job. So they're probably going to look at what he's done in the last 3 years combined with what Joe Biden's done in the last 40 years and just see how it measures up. Just putting it out there. That's no doubt going to come up probably tomorrow night.
What do you think, Robin?
Oh, yes. The Supreme, everything's on the table. And look, this had better be an actual debate. I don't want any soft questions here, and I want them both to come hard. And we've got to see that from Joe Biden. We have to see that he's a fighter. My party needs to be energized to turn out the vote in massive numbers in order to win. So, the pressure's on for both of these people, and we really have to perform. It's critically important at this stage of the game.
Yeah, and we're going to talk more about that coming up after the break. But just overall, what kind of impact do you think the president's nominee for the Supreme Court, what kind of impact do you think that will have when it comes to voters making his or her mind up when it comes to the polls? I mean, do you think it will have any?
It will definitely have an impact. And look, this is why Mitch McConnell so brilliantly, let's give him praise for his strategy. I didn't like it, but for 300 days he held up the confirmation of Judge Merrick Garland because he knew it would drive out evangelicals. And right now, it's actually working against Democrats if we keep this seat open because it will once again drive out evangelicals. So I don't want to, cut off our nose to spite our own face, Miranda.
Do you agree with that, Dr. Patrick? That by attacking her, you almost hurt yourself and the party?
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. And I think it's a point that Robin and the Democrats, many of the Democrats, appreciate, which is why no doubt they are strategizing behind the scenes as to exactly what the best tactic would be to discredit her at the hearing, given that many of the avenues traditionally open to them are not with her as a nominee, which is no doubt why she's the nominee. Because it is important. 8 is not a good number. That's Justice Ginsburg herself, the late Justice Ginsburg, who said that. We need the court at full staff because short-staffed is short-sighted because they cannot turn out any long-term precedent. And that is not what we count on our Supreme Court to do. That's why, by the way, one of the reasons we're moving as fast as we are.
We only have a few seconds left of this segment, but Dr. Patrick, real quickly, just predictions here. How long do you think it will take? Do you think she'll get confirmed, by the way? And then how long, if so, do you think that will take?
Yes, and not very long, simply because there's not a lot of ammunition available. They may be able to say, oh, if you do this, we're going to expand the Supreme Court, we're going to make other territory states, but that has nothing to do with whether or not she's confirmed. On that question, I think the answer is yes. This comes down to math, and the numbers are there.
All right. Robin, real quickly, do you think this is going to happen before the election? Yes or no?
The sand is running out of the hour clock, but yes, I think ultimately Mitch knows he's got the votes.
So there you go. There you heard it. All right, still ahead. Thank you, Dr. Patrick, for joining us. Robin Bauer, we're going to ask you to stick around. Coming up after the break, we're going to have Javier Menjeras joining us. We're going to talk about the first presidential debate, which takes place tomorrow. A look at what we can expect, some changes. We'll be right back. Welcome back to News On. I'm Miranda Kahn. In a little over 24 hours, the nation will turn its eyes to Cleveland, Ohio, as the first presidential debate is scheduled to take place. I cannot wait. For more on what to expect and what each side is prepared to hear, I'd like to welcome back in Robin Biro. Thank you so much for sticking around through the break. Appreciate it. Also want to welcome in political analyst Javier Menjeras.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, I don't think you guys have done a panel before, so this should be exciting. All right. So, gentlemen, obviously, I just mentioned the first presidential debate taking place tomorrow. You have Chris Wallace with Fox News who's going to be moderating it. It's going to be a little different. Obviously, they're not expected to shake hands. It's going to be a much smaller venue. Usually you see thousands of people out there. Not so much. It's going to be down to, 60, 70 people in this area. Your thoughts on this, because there's been a lot of debate back and forth, no pun intended, but typically when it comes to a presidential debate, it's the person that's sitting in office that is usually doesn't have the upper hand. But as we've seen the president perform in the past, he loves this. He lives for this. He has literally destroyed one candidate after another. We saw this in 2016. So just going to ask you, does he have the upper hand still?
I think he's always had the upper hand. I think President Trump, like you said, lives for this. And people are going to be tuning in like I will with popcorn in hand and waiting for the Biden train wreck to occur, because President Trump will light that short fuse Biden has. And it's a matter of how big is the explosion going to be? How much of a wreck was going to happen after that fuse is lit? So
what if there isn't? What if there isn't, Robin? Because a lot of people are saying, we haven't really seen from Biden. A lot of people are anticipating those gaffes, which his wife says, you can't say that if you're, because of what the president has said in the past. But what if it's not an epic fail? What if he doesn't stumble all over the place?
Well, Miranda, that's what we're all hoping and praying for as Democrats. Look, I waited with bated breath through all of the DNC and Biden's speech, praying that we wouldn't have that. And he did a terrific job. He really knocked it out of the park. Honestly.
Yeah, but that's different. That's different. That's a speech. Yes. That's a prepared. This is a debate completely different.
Look, Biden has everything to lose and practically nothing to gain. I'm just glad that he's doing the debate, and we hope that he's going to do his best and really give, some good, solid. He's just got to come strong, Miranda. That's my concern. We can't have friendly Uncle Joe.
Yeah, you want him to come out strong. I have to say, you don't seem extremely confident in your pick. I mean, is it just me? I feel you're just very nervous about it. Okay.
I think Robin wants to tune in to see who's going to say what, or mainly if Joe Biden's going to remember his name.
Oh my gosh, you guys are horrible. Speaking of which, the president was saying that he thinks that there should be a drug test. Of course, that's not going to happen. But was that a wise move on his part to suggest that?
Why not? I mean, listen, this is Donald Trump. He's going to suggest whatever he feels he needs to suggest, and he's going to say whatever he's going to say. A lot of people cringe when he gets to that point, but I think it's fair. I mean, all bets are off when it comes to presidential debates. I mean, everything's on the table. Even stuff that normally isn't on the fair game is going to be fair game. And again, he's going to light that fuse, or at least attempt to light that fuse. And Biden, I don't think he's going to make major gaffes. I think he's going to, the minute he has any kind of semblance of a senior moment, Trump is going to pounce on that. And we'll see what happens.
Yeah, you guys are like laughing here. Do you have popcorn ready, Robin? Okay, so let's talk about it.
Yes.
There are three main topics that we know are going to be discussed, right? The Supreme Court, which you and I just talked about, Robin, right before the break. The pandemic being another one, and these protests. And Robin, we had you on last week, and you said that was a big concern for you and your party. If you were sitting there in a room with the vice president, what advice would you give him when it comes to tomorrow's debate, especially on that issue of these protests that we've seen erupting all across the country?
to be clear and concise, Miranda, that he supports peaceful protests, but not riots, and that we support the police, the men and women in blue, as well as the peaceful protests, because that's how America is run, a nation of laws and rules. So he's got to address that. He's got to make sure that we don't look as a party like we're the party of defund the police. Yes, that is a small, far left faction, but that is not the party as a whole. I hope and pray that comes across clearly, Miranda.
What's his biggest strength, do you think, going into this debate?
47 years, the same thing that's going to hamper him. All of that experience. How many times has he debated before? He knows what he's doing. He's just got to summon that and not be afraid when Donald Trump goes low, and you know he will. That's what he does.
What do you think the president's biggest weakness is going into this debate?
I think, well, the biggest weakness would be if he got a put-off message, and I don't think it's going to happen with Joe Biden. I think President Trump is going to come right off the bat and get a Biden-off message, and I think Democrats like Robin fear that. He's right about the defund movement. The Vice President Biden has said he is for police and not defunding police and against the violence, fine. But Trump will try to get him off messages. Again, it's not going to be very hard for him not to do that because Biden's Biden. Biden, like I said, you've seen it. He showed many times in different clippings you've seen on the internet that he's lost his cool with voters and with other elected officials. So it could happen. I think it's going to happen fairly soon.
But
in the debate.
One issue that does appear to be working well for him is the pandemic, right? And that's going to be one of the topics. The other day we've seen the ads running where, he's saying the president didn't handle the pandemic right. He can't talk about the economy because we've lost all these jobs and all these lives. That appears to be, and am I wrong, Robin, that appears to be a tactic that is working for the Biden campaign.
It is working, and people are concerned. Most of us have lost somebody that we know to this pandemic, and it's a problem, and we're grieving. That's one thing that Joe Biden does have, is he's got the empathy that comes across clearly on camera, whether it just doesn't seem to come across on camera as much for Donald Trump, the president. So, there's the upper hand as far as that goes, Miranda.
So do you think we'll see any gaffes tomorrow by either one?
I think we'll see at least 2 Biden gaffes.
2 Biden gaffes. Robin, what do you think?
Oh, I'm just hope and pray that we don't. Just for neither. How about that? I want to professional.
See, he can't even keep a straight face. It's at least he's thinking there's 8 of them. I think 2 at least.
But I think to Javier's points, though, I mean that's the key, right? Is to get him off message.
Oh, yeah.
And to make sure that. Right, Robin, I see you nodding your head. That's what the president.
That's a great strategy. It's absolutely, and Biden needs to do that. And it's just not in his character, but he's got to summon it from somewhere, Miranda.
Yeah, I'm curious though. I mean, it appears, and again, if you believe the polls, right? So it's still showing that Biden's ahead. We all know what happened in 2016, but just assuming that they're right. It appears to have been working for him, that he has been, and I know like the Republicans like to say, hidden in the basement, that he hasn't been doing all these campaign stops, that we haven't heard him do a lot of live speeches. That could change come tomorrow.
Yeah, but look at the polls. Hillary Clinton was further ahead in 2016 in a lot of these polls. Some of the polls, like in Florida, he's in a dead heat with the president. So I don't take anything in polls for granted. I just let it be. Election night will be the ultimate poll. But again, it goes back to getting taken off messaging. All the president has to do is question, the color of his hair, the new color of his hair, or the recent tan that Joe Biden has come about. Did he go to a tanning salon? I don't know. That'll throw Biden off right off the bat.
Tanning salon. Okay, that'll be interesting. Okay, we only have 30 seconds. Real quickly, who do you think is going to win the debate?
Let me think. President Trump.
Like, would you give him an A, B, C? What do you think is going to happen?
Just because he's going to go after Biden, I'll give him an A+.
You're going to give him an A+. Okay, Robin, what do you think?
I think the president's going to come in overconfident, and it may hurt him. Biden may actually pull off a win here, but I'm not sure. All bets are off, Miranda.
Wow, that was a little wishy-washy. We're going to have to see what happens. We didn't even get a letter grade. Even a letter grade? What are you going to give Biden?
C.
No, nope, not going to do it. B+. Okay. All right. Well, we're going to have to see what happens. Again, that debate taking place 9 o'clock Eastern time to 11 o'clock, 90 minutes. 3 major topics. Looking forward to it. Can't wait. Thank you so much. Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Javier.
Thanks.
Pleasure. We'll have to see what happens if your predictions are right. All right, stick around. There's still much more to come here on News on. See, don't we have fun for a Monday? Not so much fun, the wildfires. An update next. Wildfires still causing lots of issues out west. Welcome back to News On. We'd like to send it over now to Weather Nation's Patrick Crawford for a look at today's nationwide forecast. Patrick?
Hi, everyone. I'm Weather Nation meteorologist Patrick Crawford here with a look at some of the top weather headlines we're tracking at Weather Nation. We've got a strong cold front pushing through the Ohio Valley, the Mid-South, all the way down into the Gulf Coast states, where we're going to see the potential for some severe weather. Might get some large hail, damaging wind potential with these storms that are going to continue to fire up along this strong cold front. Look at some of the intensity we could see for cities like Birmingham and Nashville, Lexington. That's where we could get some of those damaging wind gusts, 58 miles per hour or greater. So very strong winds. That'll be a possibility with any of these storms that can really get going in these areas. Then we'll keep tracking the cold front. It'll be slowly moving to the east, into the mid-Atlantic, the northeast as well later this week, and really start to pick up that chance for heavy showers and thunderstorms. Could see some potential in the form of flash flooding, where we might have some heavy rain anywhere from northern Maine all the way down into the coastal areas of South Carolina. Charleston going to see some heavy rain. The Outer Banks there into North Carolina, all all the way up through the New England region, where rainfall totals might exceed in some spots, at least some isolated spots, over 5 inches overall. So we're tracking that severe weather risk for cities like Cleveland, Ohio. Look at the strong cold front bringing the temperatures down, and the cool air stays there in Northeast Ohio all the way through the rest of this week and into the next upcoming weekend. That's just one of the top weather headlines that we're tracking here at Weather Nation. Weather Nation meteorologist Chelsea Ambrose, you've got the other headline.
Yeah, the heat that's back out into the entire western half of the country, complete opposite end of the spectrum. As we look at northern California, southern Oregon, we have heat advisories in the afternoon hours today because actual temperatures could get well into the 90s, if not close to that triple-digit heat, including areas like San Francisco. 92 is in the forecast today. Then things cool off just a little bit. 80 tomorrow, which is still above average for San Francisco. Eureka, we're at 84 today. Tomorrow slowly cooling off back down to the upper 70s. But it's not just Northern California. Southern California also has heat advisories, but these last through Thursday. This does include the Los Angeles area, even down towards San Bernardino and Santa Clarita, just outside of San Diego. We also have those heat alerts in effect because actual temperatures are going to be closer to that 100-degree mark, if not exceeding it, especially into the desert Southwest. So extreme fire danger is also going to come with that forecast. So it's going to be very, very warm, drying things out and making it even harder for fires to be contained when you get the gusty winds as well. Los Angeles, California, just look at the trend in your forecast. We're up all the way through Wednesday. 101 is the forecast before we're back down and still above average. That yellow line is the average temperature for this time of year, which is about 81 degrees. For your local forecast, you can head over to weathernationtv.com and find our top weather headlines. Have a great day.
And speaking of California, a fast-moving wildfire forced homeowners in the heart of wine country to evacuate. Authorities in Napa County say the fire was first reported Sunday morning. That's when deputies raced through neighborhoods trying to alert people of the danger. Fire crews have been using tankers and choppers to attack the fire from the air. Thick smoke could be seen just for miles. Videos on social media just showed a number of houses and structures burning to the ground. The glass fire, as it is known now, has already scorched thousands of acres in the area that is home to dozens of wineries. New coronavirus cases increased over the past week by at least 10%, predominantly in 21 western states. In the meantime, only 11 states saw new cases fall more than 10% compared to the week before. The news comes as public health experts have expressed concerns over a new fall and winter wave of the virus as colder temperatures cause many of us to spend more time indoors. Under this model, the country is projected to see a major spike begin in October, that is just coming right up, and accelerate for the remainder of the year. The U.S. could reach 3,000 daily deaths by the end of December, more than triple the current number of daily deaths. Still to come here on News On Real America's Voice, we get to let your voice be heard. A lot of you reacting to some of the protests, and that prompted our question of the day. Stay tuned. Welcome back to News On here at Real America's Voice. Our goal is to give you a voice. After all, we work for you. So you can do that by joining our community platform, which you can find on our website at americasvoice.news, or you can reach out to us on social media. We are all over the place. We've got you covered. We're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Parlay, and CloudHub. Simply submit your comment or question. We love video too, so you can also send us a video. And we might just air it on this very program. So Friday, our question of the day was this: how confident are you that the results of the 2020 presidential election will be fair and accurate, and why? So jumping right into it, Whelan Went from Facebook says he isn't confident and continues to say mail-in ballots are fraught with violation weakness. Thank you so much. Next, we have Scott Fairchild, also coming from Facebook, and he has hope, but still seems a little skeptical. He wrote, I'm hoping that it will be fair and accurate, but with all of the issues surrounding mail-in voting and potential election interference, I'm sure this will probably be the most contested election in history next to the 2000 Bush Gore debacle. Hope not. And Jim Sitton from Facebook said this: the millions of unsolicited ballots that are being mailed everywhere are an invitation to fraud and confusion. Both Biden and Trump already have lawyers and lawsuits. How can there be faith in a system that is flawed? Interesting question. Thank you so much, Jim. And Gina Roxu from Twitter said this: the commies are going to cheat, so I don't know what will happen. Angry face. We are fighting for life as we know it. And Eric Olivia from Twitter seems to wonder why mail-in voting is a concern at all, saying 100%. Why so much concern? Because Trump said so? Oh, that makes total sense, he says. There is no reason not to believe the, quote, most honest person ever. Thank you so much for your comment, Eric. Lastly, we have Don from Twitter, thinks the Democrats are to blame for the lack of trust and mail-in voting, saying, quote, this: not confident at all because the Dems are hell-bent on cheating and winning at all cost. Thank you so much for all of you for sharing your thoughts with us today. We really do appreciate it. And that will do it for this edition of Your Voice on News On. But join us tomorrow for the answer to this question. This is the question that we're posting for today. And it is the mainstream media fueling the violent riots nationwide? You may recall we had former Detective Tom Whatley on our program last week to ask him to weigh in on these protests, and he believes that the mainstream media is actually fueling these protests. We want to know what you think. So share your voice again at our social media platform. Submit a video or leave us a comment. You can also private message us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Parlay, CloudHub, LinkedIn, and of course our online community platform at americasvoice.news, and we may air it on this very program tomorrow. Oh, and don't forget, you can take us on the go. Download our app. Coming up, we still have more stories to get to of the day. We're also going to be talking about the presidential debate. That is coming up. The vice presidential debate will be coming up here soon. We'll be right back. And welcome back to News On. I'm Miranda Kahn. Are you an 80s kid or no one? One of their beloved traditions was probably eating cereal while watching Saturday morning cartoons. Yep. Remember those days? General Mills is trying to tap into that nostalgia and is going retro, bringing back the 1980s recipes of 4 of its cereals. I remember all those. Cocoa Puffs, Cookie Crisp, Trix, and Golden Grahams are permanently returning to their 1980s versions. What was your favorite? I liked Golden Grahams. The company says Cocoa Puffs will deliver more chocolatey taste. Cookie Crisp will bring back more chocolate chip cookie flavor. And Trix is returning to 6 fruity shapes. And Golden Grahams is, well, it's bringing back the honey. Sounds sweet. Yes, pun intended. General Mills says that they are now available at most major retailers nationwide. Pretty cool. And speaking of bringing things back, check this story out. This new Barbie doll is encouraging people to vote. It's a relaunch of Mattel's Shiro doll featuring an activist and actress Yari Shahidi, but it's getting a fashion makeover. The Barbie wears a t-shirt that says vote. Mattel says this doll will be available to ship October 9th, just in time for Election Day. All right, you're going to love this. A bank branch manager hit the jackpot at Crater of Diamonds State Park in Arkansas. Lucky guy. Kevin Kennard found this 9-carat diamond, 9 carats, at the park when he was there with friends on Labor Day. That never would happen to me. The marble-sized diamond is the second largest diamond found in the park's history. More than 75,000 diamonds have been found there since the first ones were discovered in 1906. And the park has a finders keepers policy, so whatever you find, well, it's yours. Kennard says it's unique that he found a 9.07 carat diamond on September 7th or 9/7. That is pretty cool. The 33-year-old has been searching for diamonds there since a 2nd grade field trip. All right. I'll give him credit for that. He's been doing it for a long time. Love for that to happen. All right, and here's a story about something you probably don't think about every day. NASA's new space toilet is ready to launch. Let's hope you don't think about that every day. The Universal Waste Management System is heading to the International Space Station on Tuesday. It's part of the supplies in the Northrop Grumman's cargo spacecraft. Not only does this space toilet provide bathroom needs for astronauts, it also recycles water that will be used again for other uses. NASA says 90% of all water-based liquids on the space station, including urine and sweat, get recycled. Isn't that a lovely thought as you get ready to have your lunch today? Yes. The new toilet, which cost millions of dollars, is smaller and lighter than the one currently on the ISS. It also has a fan that helps pull urine and other things away from the body since there's no gravity in space. Isn't that a pleasant thought to leave you with? Sometimes I don't know what my producer Dane's thinking, but I love these kind of stories. This one, All right. Amazon Prime Day is set for October 13th and 14th. So mark your calendars. Amazon made the announcement Monday. The 2-day annual sales event usually happens in mid-July, but that was postponed this year, of course, due to the COVID pandemic. Prime Day is Amazon's version of basically, Christmas in the summer, with sales routinely outpacing Black Friday. The e-commerce giant has never held it this late and never in the fourth quarter, which also includes a Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So people are going to be doing a lot of shopping. Amazon Prime Vice President Jamil Ghani says the company thinks Prime Day will be bigger this year than ever before. Amazon has thrived, unlike some other companies, during the pandemic as consumers, all of us, purchase, of course, more goods online and limit our store visits. The company reported $88.9 billion in sales during its latest quarter ending June 30th, a 40% jump from the same period a year earlier. And that will do it for this edition of News On. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow at noon Eastern. Enjoy the rest of your day.